gave.
Hello, everyone. It's Pop-Up Encouragement Wednesday. Come on in and let me encourage you just for a few minutes. I'm Pastor Rubin H. Benjamin, pastor of Beulah First Missionary Baptist Church. Today, I want to encourage you to honor your mother. As we approach Mother's Day weekend, for those of you who have your mothers with you, I want you to start today all the way through this weekend and even afterwards to encourage, to honor, to appreciate your mother. And if your mother isn't with you, if she's passed on, I hope these memories that I'm going to share will bring back fond memories of your mother, and you will adopt another mother and show the love that your mother have shown you. Now, this may take a little longer than I normally do, but you know what? It's for me. I want to feel good about my mother. And so let's walk down memory lanes, and maybe you experienced some of these things like I have with my mother. My mother was Geneva Gant Benjamin. She passed away at 96 just 5 years ago, lived a wonderful life. So here's the first prop that I have I want you to think about as you think about your mother. My mother was a hat lady. Oh yeah, she never would go to church without a hat and without her pearls on. I don't know if your mother was a hat lady or pearl lady or not, but mine was. She said, I cannot go to church with my head not covered. And she always had a hat on. You knew she was a lady when she stepped into the church. The next thing that I want to share with you, as we were growing up as little children, and there were field trips that we would go on, and Mama knew, without us even asking, that we needed to have some money as they stopped to the local diner to get something to eat. Did your mother do this? She tied up our money in those coins that she could gather for us so tight that when we got there, we couldn't hardly get them open. Took Daddy's handkerchief, the only one or two that he had for church, and tied up some coins for us so that we would have some money when we got to the diner for the field trip. One of the things that touched my heart so much was this quilt, a quilt. Do you have your quilt that your mother made for you and she sent you off to college to make sure you'd stay warm? I can recall a time in South Carolina, we had a house that in our room, James, my brother and I, our room didn't have any heat in it. And we didn't have a stove in it. But when it wasn't really too cold, like freezing, we still had to stay in that room. But my mother would go and get into bed on those cold nights and those cold sheets. And she would thrash around with her body heat and warm our bed up for us. And then she'd call us in, James and I, to get into the bed with her while she still stayed with us until we kind of went off to sleep. And she snuggled with us with her body heat to keep us warm in our bed. Oh, what an awesome mother. I want to share with you too, that as I grew older and I played basketball, many of you know I love basketball. My mother was always there to every one of my games. I don't know if she really understood the game, but she knew when I made a basket, she'd stand up and yell, and I knew where she would be sitting every time the game was going on. She was in that special corner, and all I had to do was look over there and see her shouting and yelling for me. Man, I tell you, that did my heart good. And then when we had away games, my mother would always be there waiting for me when the bus arrived, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning as we went away to other schools and came back. We didn't have a lot of gas, but my mother would run the car just enough to keep it warm and then shut it off. Kids would come to my mother and ask, we don't see our mom, can you take us home? My mother would take every child who wanted to go home. I don't know how we did it because most of the time our gas tank was never over 1/4 full. But she wouldn't just drop you off on the long road. Those of you who lived in the South know what it meant to live on a long road back to your house. She would take you right to the door and make sure you could go into the house. Two more props. Well, I remember a time that when I became a minister and I came home, and you know how it is when the son comes home, they want to recognize them, and they do that all the time. But somehow, I don't know what happened, they didn't recognize me as a new minister. And it grieved my mother greatly. And I never had a chance to share this with her to today. I was in the hallway, and Mama would always talk on the phone in the family room, but I saw Mama tip away from the family room and went into her room, and she closed the door. Only two things were happening when mama closed the door in her room. She was going in for prayer and she was going in to straighten somebody out. I heard mama on the phone. I don't know who she was talking to, but she was letting them know, how dare you disrespect my son? How dare you disrespect our son coming home? I'm going to tell you, I felt so proud of my mama who defended my honor. She didn't have to. I was okay. But she was letting them know, don't you dare disrespect my boy. Beloved, I never got the chance to share that with her. She made my heart glow. Last but not least, man, my mother was a baker. Would your mother bake? My mother baked cakes. My mother baked pies. My mother cooked dressing. My mother, you could name it. My mother could cook it. She could burn. I remember fondly that when she would be cooking cakes and I'd wake up late, early in the morning, sometime 2 in the morning as she was preparing cakes for folks she was selling them to. She would be singing. But my mother would always leave enough of icing. Did your mother do that? Enough of icing so that we could lick the spoon. Oh, what a fond memory. I can still smell the aroma of the kitchen and I can still taste the flavor of that chocolate layer cake. Man, what I would do today just to taste mama cake once again. Man, what I would do to just to hug her one more time. Beloved, if you have your mother with you today, oh, time is short. This pandemic lets me know that we need to love unconditionally. Will you give your mother a hug for me today? Let her know that she's special, that she's honored, and that she is appreciated. Love on your mother, man. Because when you lose her, that's the only one you're going to have. I pray that these memories have blessed you. I think of them often of my mother, Geneva Gant Benjamin. Mom, I love you today. God bless you.